Most people think European river cruises are all the same. I don't. I've seen two ships run the same Danube route and feel totally different. One like a floating 5-star hotel, the other like a dated, rule-heavy disappointment. The worst part? You don't find out you picked wrong until you're already on board. And once you're moving, there's no switching ships. You just live with it. So I'm ranking 8 European river cruise companies from worst to best, based on 4 things I care about: crowded tours, food, cabin comfort, and how hard they try to upsell you. Stay for number 1, because it's the only one that fixes the biggest problem most people don't see coming: those shore tours that feel packed and cookie cutter. Let's start at the bottom. Quick gut check before I even say anything else. If you need everything to feel English first, super polished, and international hotel on water, you're probably not going to be happy here. But if you like a trip that feels unapologetically French, practical, relaxed, and more about the region than the flash, CroisiEurope might be your kind of cruise. This is a French-owned company with a very traditional, no-frills style. The ships are smaller and simpler, and the whole experience feels more regional Europe than international luxury hotel. However, that's also the deal breaker for a lot of travelers. If you want glossy English first and premium design everywhere, you'll step on board and think, oh, this is not the 5-star vibe I pictured. Now the redeeming part? The food. If you're the kind of person who perks up when you hear French meals every day, this is where CroisiEurope quietly wins. It's flavorful, well-cooked, and feels grounded in French cooking, instead of trying to be everything for everyone. And the other underrated win? They show up on smaller, less hyped waterways and regional routes, especially in France, where some bigger brands don't really bother. So, who should pick CroisiEurope? If you're value-focused and you genuinely love France, and you'd rather spend your budget on the itinerary than on onboard sparkle, this is the fit. All right, number 7 is a step up in modern and hotel-like than CroisiEurope. If you want to step on board and feel like you just checked into a modern boutique hotel on the Rhine, Emerald is that answer. I still remember the first time I saw their indoor pool. During the day, I'm swimming with vineyards sliding by, and at night, they literally flip that same space into a movie theater. That's such an Emerald detail. No suits, no whispering in the hallways, just a t-shirt, a drink, and a very we're on vacation vibe. Everything feels newer, cleaner, and more relaxed than the old school traditional ships. The price usually sits in that sweet spot too, premium looking without creeping into ultra luxury territory. Upsells exist, but they don't feel pushy. You've got options if you want them, but it doesn't feel like you're being sold to all day. Food is where I set expectations. You'll eat well, meals are solid, and wine and beer are typically included with lunch and dinner, but Emerald isn't the line you'd pick if you're doing this trip, mainly for a wow culinary experience. The dining is good, it just usually isn't the defining reason you'll remember the cruise. Where Emerald really earns its spot is the design and the little quality of life details. They sail the core European routes that most people want, the tours hit the big highlights, and then you get these fun touches that make the ship feel less repetitive, like that pool to cinema trick. It's a small thing, but it breaks the pattern and makes evenings feel different. So if you want a modern, premium feeling ship without paying ultra luxury prices, especially if it's your first river cruise, Emerald is an easy yes. Next up at number 6, this one has a feature that changes how you see the scenery, and once you experience it, it's hard to go back. Avalon jumps this high for one reason that changes the entire trip: those panorama suites. Instead of a normal balcony setup, you get floor-to-ceiling windows, and the room is built so your bed faces the river. That sounds like a small design choice until you realize it rewires your whole day. You wake up and Europe is right there. Castles, vineyards, little historic towns sliding by like you've got the best seat in the house without even leaving your pillow. That's the best part of Avalon. Now, the trade-off. Avalon isn't trying to be the most formal, white glove, we're going to impress you with a ceremony kind of cruise. The vibe is relaxed and flexible, and the food is reliably good and generous, but it's not the line I'd pick if my main goal was a culinary cruise where every dinner feels like an event. Avalon's strength is comfort and consistency, not theatrical fine dining. If you remember one phrase for Avalon, it's this: the ship that sells the view. And here's the bigger lesson. Once you hit this level and above, these companies aren't just selling you a cabin anymore. They're selling you a system for how you experience Europe, especially once you step off the ship. And that matters because number 5 is where the onshore experience starts getting sharper in a way you can feel immediately. Uniworld is the most "you either love it or you can't breathe" line on this list. And I mean that in the best way. The moment you step on board, you can tell they don't do safe and neutral. Each ship is basically a European boutique hotel that went all in. Velvet, antiques, custom art, bold patterns, the kind of styling that makes you stop and look around. If ornate romantic spaces are your thing, it feels special. If you're a clean, minimal, modern person, it can start to feel like visual noise by day 2. Where Uniworld really separates itself is how complete the experience feels. The atmosphere is intimate and boutique, the guest count is smaller, service feels personal, and the food matches that same curated energy. Meals lean regional, plating is noticeably elevated, and the wine feels chosen with intention instead of added as an afterthought. And if you're sensitive to crowded touring, Uniworld usually does pretty well because so much of the experience feels curated. But if your number 1 priority is as few people as possible, hold that thought for number 1. So number 5 comes down to taste. Design lovers will be obsessed. Minimalists might spend the week wishing the ship would tone it down. By the way, I have a question. Are you more into calm and simple or rich and dramatic? If you want a river cruise, you can book with your eyes closed and feel about 95% sure everything will go exactly as planned. Viking is basically travel insurance on the water. I did a Viking sailing on the Rhine, and what I remember most is almost nothing surprising happened. And I mean that as a compliment. Everything felt smooth and on time. The ship was clean, quiet, adults only, and genuinely chill. The design is that Scandinavian minimalist thing. Light woods, neutral colors, clean lines, and the daily rhythm runs like a clock without feeling stiff. Food is consistently good with regional touches, but Viking isn't trying to make dinner the headline of your trip. It's more solid and reliable than every meal is a moment. The only little friction I still remember, those tiny "wait, is this included?" pauses. Like I'm sitting in the lounge before dinner, I order a gin and tonic, and my brain does that quick check. Is this part of what I've got? Or is this going on my tab? It's a small thing, but it's the one moment where the calm, predictable flow gets interrupted. And if you want the same smoothness, without ever having to think about that question again, the next spot is where the game changes. Scenic leans hard into a true luxury style of river cruising. Every suite comes with butler service. Premium drinks are included throughout the day. And a lot of the stronger shore experiences are bundled into the fare. So the onboard vibe stays relaxed, not transactional. That's what Scenic does best. It removes friction. You're not constantly making micro decisions. Everything feels polished, quiet, and seamless. Expensive in a calm way, not a flashy way. Dining holds up at this level too. You usually get multiple venues, better ingredients, and meals that feel elevated, plus wine and cocktails that actually feel like part of the experience, not an extra. One thing to know going in: Scenic's energy is serene. Nights are more low-key, the pace is calmer, and it's built for travelers who basically want everything handled with zero drama. Now, if you're thinking, that's great, but I want the food to be the main event, then number 2 is where the conversation shifts. AmaWaterways feels a little more alive than the super serene ships. It's still upscale, but warmer, more like you're being hosted than processed. They're family-owned, and that comes through in the service. It feels personal instead of corporate. The onboard energy is also a notch more social than Viking and Scenic. Not a party, just a ship where people chat at dinner, compare notes from port, and trade "you have to try this" tips. And this is where Ama really wins. The food. Regional menus that taste like the region, wine pairings that feel intentional, and experiences like Chef's Table that make dinner feel like an event. You leave remembering meals, not just monuments. AMA is also great for team active. In port, you usually get choices, walking tours, guided bike rides, and cultural options, so you can match your own pace instead of being stuck in one group rhythm. So here's how I'd frame it. If you prioritize the daily experience, food, vibe, that feeling of enjoying every single day, AmaWaterways is definitely your best choice. But if the thing you hate most is crowded tours and everyone gets the exact same experience, that's where number 1 steps in. Tauck is built around one idea: make Europe feel less public. They do it with scale. Their riverboats run with far fewer guests. Tauck even says their ships average about 110 people, maxing out around 130. So the ship stays quiet, the groups stay small, and the day doesn't turn into a long series of lines and herding. And it's not just hype. Tauck has been named Travel + Leisure's world's best river cruise line in past years. And it's also a World's Best Awards Hall of Fame honoree, which basically means readers have kept it near the top for at least 10 straight years. Where Tauck really separates itself is off the ship. On select itineraries, they lock in early time slots, so you're ahead of the tour bus rush, keep touring in smaller groups, and sometimes cap the day with a hosted private dinner or reception that feels like an event, not something you could easily piece together on your own. And the other reason people swear by Tauck is simple. You don't have to run your own trip. The pacing, the logistics, the reservations, the transportation, everything's choreographed, so you can just show up and enjoy the day. Then you realize excursions are included, gratuities are included, and unlimited beverages are included. And your brain finally stops doing math. That combination, fewer people, smoother days, and access that feels hard to replicate, right there is why Tauck earns the number 1 spot. Honestly, no line on this list is a bad choice. The best one depends completely on how you travel. If you want something steady and stress-free, Viking is the pick. If you care most about the daily experience, food, vibe, and the option to stay active, AMA is ridiculously strong. And if your biggest deal breaker is crowds and cookie-cutter touring, Tauck is the one that changes the whole feel of Europe. The real mistake isn't booking a bad river cruise, it's booking the wrong one for you. And that's the difference between just seeing Europe and loving the way you see it. If you've done a river cruise before, tell me which line you sailed and whether you do it again. And if you're planning your first one, drop your top priority in one word.